Hello and welcome to Traditional Painting the Digital Way. This is where I use digital painting apps to teach traditional painting techniques. In this video, we're going to be looking at a chiaroscuro study. And this is part 2, and we're going to be doing a pirate that is up against a black background and the light is shining really bright on his face. And as I explained before, chiaroscuro is a contrast between really darks and really light colors in the painting, and some of the old masters like Caravaggio used it a lot for their religious paintings. And then here I'm going to go ahead and start working more on the background and the dark side of the face. And what makes the contrast is you have to have the really dark look and you right up against the really bright look, and that makes the chiaroscuro look. And so I'm working on his face and I'm making it darker. And again, like I said before, you have to draw the whole thing out so that you get the proportions right. But here I'm working on making the side of his face darker, so I'm using a dark purple type of mixture. If you're following along traditionally, it would be deoxazine purple with ultramarine blue and maybe some burnt sienna. We just want kind of a dark look, but not totally black, because totally black flattens things out, and we still want to see indications of three-dimensionalness in the dark parts of your painting. You don't want to completely flatten them out. You want them to still retain the depth in your painting. So here I'm just working on making the background a little bit darker in places and leaving a little bit of some light. Of course, he's going to have a feather right there, and the feather is also lit up, so that gives sort of a contrast as well. So I'm just kind of working on the contrast of the face, and you want to go ahead and smooth that out. And sometimes I use the cloth blender in Infinite Painter on blend to smooth things out. It just works fairly well to go ahead and smooth things out. So I'm doing that, and just kind of trying to make the edges not look hard. You don't want any hard edges either. When you're doing the chiaroscuro look, you want it to transition softly into the light look. Again, there's not going to be a lot of middle ground between the dark and the light, but you don't want a hard edge. You still want sort of a soft edge in between them, because that will give you the three-dimensional look. Otherwise, you'll get kind of a cartoon look, and you're not after a cartoon look when you're doing a chiaroscuro painting. You want to, you still want to retain the three-dimensionalness, but the idea is that it's kind of like a spotlight shining on their face. Even though Caravaggio and those guys didn't have spotlights, they had lamps and lanterns and natural sunlight, things like that, so they could still get that look. And that's sort of the ideas that you want to get that real bright look on that side. Even though this was all before cameras and movies and all kinds of things, it's good lighting to study if you want to do a movie, actually. And so here I'm just kind of working on adding some color to the lips and adding a little bit more pinkish color to the face that's in the light part, the face side, and I'm working on the shape of his eyes and nose, trying to get still indications of his face on the dark side of his in the shadows there, on the dark side in the shadows there. And so I'm adding a little bit of some pink flesh color to that, and just kind of working on the shape of the eyebrows. And again, I didn't want to use complete black because that flattens it out, but you can use a dark brown. If you're following along traditionally, you can use burnt sienna with aquamarine blue to make a darker color. And in this point in the painting, you would be using a number 3 round maybe, or a small flat brush to try to get some of the blend of the flesh. And here I'm working on the shadow and the light color, and just trying to blend in the edges on his nose, and trying to get a smooth, soft transition of the shadow to the really bright light. And so I'm adding in some oranges and things like that to kind of give the transition between the shadow and the light side there. But we still want a fairly good contrast. And so I'm working on kind of a bluish dark color, and just trying to get the shape of the nose. And make sure that you kept your original sketch on a separate layer or a separate piece of paper, so that you can overlay it and make sure that you've got the features still in the right place. And so here I'm working on trying to get the shape of the nose, trying to get the shape of the eyes there, just trying to get the shadows correct on his face. But again, I want to make sure that I keep some indications of his face. We don't want it to be completely black on that side, because that will make it look too linear, too cartoony. So you want to keep that a little bit rounded, and a little bit of some light in the shadows there. Here I'm working on the eyes, and right now they're too big. They need to be a little bit smaller, and I have to work on that and finally get them where they're smaller. And I toyed with the idea of making them brown instead of blue eyes. The eyes are blue in the picture. I think also to make a bigger contrast. I don't know if they're photoshopped or if the eyes were really that color or what exactly, but I went ahead and went back to blue. But I started out with blue, then I tried brown, then I went back to blue, as you'll see later on in the video. But here I'm just kind of working again on getting some of the shadow around his eyes. Now, part of it is that he has eyeliner on, because he's doing a pirate costume, and since the Pirates of the Caribbean show has been so famous, and they do the Jack Sparrow character a lot, they use a lot of eyeliner around the eyes sometimes for their pirate costumes, and I think that's what he's doing here. And so I'm trying to add that there, and of course right now it's too dark, and I'll have to go back and work on that. And I'm working on the shape of the ears, trying to work on the shape of the jawline, sort of the beard there, trying to show the thin beard, the stubble, I guess. It's not a full beard, it's just kind of some stubble there. Trying to show that, trying to show the highlights on the dark hair, and you can use a light brown, a light blue, or a light purple to show the highlights on the hair. Probably a light brown might work. And again, you could use sort of a mixture of burnt sienna, maybe some, and just put a bunch of white acrylic gesso in it, and then smudge it in so that you don't have any hard edges. You just want to kind of smudge it in there. And so I was working on that. Then I'm back to trying to add a little bit of some light to the left eye there, and working on his nostril, trying to get the shape. You can see a little bit of light on the left nostril, and so I want to catch that because that will give the three-dimensional look there. It'll give depth to the painting. So I'm working on that and adding a little bit more highlights around the beard and around his lips and on his cheekbone and on the nose, above the eyes. Again, I'm trying to work on the ear. We're just trying to get the shape correct of his face. So you have to go and constantly work on that. This is, after all, just another portrait. We're just pushing up the contrast on it a little bit more than you might do in a normal formal portrait setting. And so here I'm working on his lips, trying to get the shadow between the lips there, trying to soften that because we don't want a hard line there. We want a softened line and look there. So, and you want to go ahead and just kind of smudge it between the lips there, the line, and try to make it darker, a sort of a shadow there. And so here I'm just working on shape of the nose, the highlights, the eyes, the brim of the hat. I'm adding the blue look. It's kind of probably a blue light shining on him. So I'm adding a little bit of some light blue. You can use ultramarine blue with white acrylic gesso to get that look, and you might add some phthalo blue on the main part of the brim, not the edge of it, just to give it a darker look there, but also make it come out from the background so that it's not completely hidden in the background. And you can use your number 3 round brush for all this. And then here I'm working on the feather a little bit, making it the shapes of it. You want kind of an uneven feathery look. You can use your number 4 flat to do that if you're following traditionally. Here I'm adjusting the shape of the hat a little bit, the brim, just kind of darkening in between the edges of the hat there, and trying to smudge it and make sure that it goes into the background. So anyway, this is the end of part 2 of our Chiaroscuro study. And in part 3, we're just going to keep on working on the features and trying to get them correct. So just go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can see that. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you so much for your support. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments down below, and I will catch you later.